The interesting thing is that the way that the scientific fact of a fault line, which runs in a relatively straight line from Ruapehu right out through Hoata Island and further, is thus accounted for by the Maori legend. And I suppose it gets back to any sort of a civilization. Thinking men wonder about the things that they see, and the Maori people no doubt had noticed the straight line that these geothermal activities lay in, and this was their way of accounting for it.
One of the finest sights in the North Island is the view of the volcanic peaks of Ruapehu, Ngāuruhoe and Tongariro from the desert road. All three are active volcanoes on a line of activity extending northwards to Rotorua, then into the Bay of Plenty where Whakaari, or White Island, is also active. This line, a section of the Pacific's Ring of Fire, marks the collision of the massive Pacific and Australian tectonic plates. Beneath New Zealand, the meeting of these two sections of the Earth's crust causes earthquakes and volcanic activity. There are many Māori stories explaining this dramatic landscape. One is the Battle of the Mountains, of which there are many different accounts. One tribe's story states that Mount Ruapehu used to be the chief of a much larger group of mountains who were mostly male, and they all fancied the only female among them, the beautiful maiden Pīhanga. However, her affections lay with Mount Tongariro, and she became his wife after he defeated his rivals in a battle. In the meantime, the beaten mountains left the group in shame and are now frozen in the place they managed to travel to before sunrise the next day. Mount Taranaki travelled west, carving out the course of the Whanganui River as he went. Putauaki, also known as Mount Edgecombe, went north towards the sea. Both mountains got a significant distance away from the site of their defeat. However, Mount Tauhara only made it to the other side of Lake Taupo because he kept looking back longingly at Pīhanga. This slow retreat is now a source of torment because Tauhara is rooted in a position where he can forever see the woman in the distance that he failed to win. A second Māori story tells of the creation of these three volcanoes as the coming of fire. When the Arawa canoe landed at Makatu in the Bay of Plenty about 800 years ago, its legendary tohunga, or priest, Ngātoroirangi, set off to explore the interior of the new land. From the shores of the Great Lake, known as Taupo, Ngātoroirangi saw the peaks of Tongariro. Intent on claiming the area for his people, he set out to climb it and light a fire there as a mark of ownership. On the journey, he was accompanied by a female companion, Ngāuruhoe. Approaching Mount Ruapehu, they saw people in the distance. Realising that these people could also be hoping to claim the land, Ngātoroirangi called on the gods for help to get rid of them. The gods responded with a sudden snowstorm that killed Ngātoroirangi's rivals. But Ngātoroirangi and Ngāuruhoe were also caught in the blizzard. Fearing that they would freeze to death, Ngātoroirangi appealed to his sisters in Hawaiki, his ancestral homeland in the Pacific Ocean, for help. With the aid of Te Pupu and Te Hoata, the gods of volcanoes and thermal activity, his sisters responded by sending fire. It travelled underground, then erupted at Whakaari, White Island, then suddenly burst through the landscape of the central North Island, igniting Rotorua, Tarawera, Orake Korako, Taupo and Tokanu before exploding through the mountaintops of Tongariro, Ngāuruhoe and Ruapehu. Revived by the warmth of the flames, Ngātoroirangi thanked the gods by throwing Ngāuruhoe into a volcanic crater, which has since become her memorial, Ngāuruhoe. Only in recent times has this changed to Ngāuruhoe. All three mountains remain active volcanoes today. Tongariro has been the quietest recently, but Ngāuruhoe erupted in 1974 and Ruapehu has had regular activity, erupting in 1974, 1975, 1995, 1996 and 2007.